What does the scripture say about UFOs? Well, it hasn't said anything directly about UFOs, but what it did say will preclude the existence of UFOs. Now, they're saying that in these other worlds, they have a vehicle that brings these people over here and the saucer like and all that stuff. But when we go back here and we look at Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, we see in our standards they were living in a very primitive environment. There were no concrete buildings, there were no wooden buildings, there were no none of that. They were just, I'm not sure where they were living. Maybe trees, but the environment was completely different. There was no cold nights and there were no hot days. It was an even temperature because of the water that was around the earth. It heated up during the day and gave out the heat at nights. And those days, heat used to come down. All right, heat goes up now, but it used to come down. And so it was a perpetual, comfortable temperature, something since spring when it's not too hot or too cold, right there, just before summer, just after the winter. Now, um, we know that man was supposed to become angels, so angels would be bigger than this, um, and so on. And so there are several things we could talk about here when people get involved in addiction, and these devils held them bondage and captive to whatever vice they're into. You could see why it's very difficult to beat it. The physical addiction is one, but also that compulsion. When they hold your hand, you can't escape from that at all. This is a human. It's not even as big as the one we saw, or it's not the biggest skull that is out there. And so the devil's his skull would be a lot bigger than that. I don't know if twice if he were to materialize, he'd be so big, big skull, taller than lamppost, and so on, maybe 40 feet tall or whatever. Yeah. So we saw where Daniel was having some misunderstanding. He wanted a vision he had explained, and he was praying, and God dispatched an angel to come and give him some insight. And he said, "Fly and tell this man what's up." And flight was just, we know birds fly, and to use the word flight, it might suggest that they had wings or something like that. This is why the angels are shown with wings. But I don't think they have wings per se, because humans don't have wings. And Adam and Eve had no wings, and they would have become angels. And in those worlds, as I said, Earth was primitive. I don't think in those other worlds there are hospitals and prisons and execution chambers and surgery and so on, because the people are healthy and they did not go. All we have today is sort of support our sinful lifestyle. Vehicles, they don't have vehicles. They don't have tires. They don't have oil up there that they're mining and so when these UFOs come down here, what technology they're using? They're using solar technology. I mean, it has been shown that many of these vehicles that people see and think it's UFOs is some government secret aircraft they're working on, and they just happen to see one and think it's a UFO. Also, those other worlds, those people don't have to come down here to know what was happening here. We have videos. We could show what happened in Russia or wherever. We don't have to go there. And you don't think God has some way of showing them what's happening on earth without them even coming here? And why would they come here anyway? Come to get sick and come to, they're not going to be looking like us, I'm sure. They're going to either be smaller or bigger than Adam and Eve. I mean, that'd be so awesome, eh? But you see, I think it's the devil's attempt to say that since man was created in the image of the Lord, that Mother Lucy and all these other little bones that find around are the original humans. But no, it can't be, because you don't grow up, as it were. I mean, you more grow down, than growing up in genetics. Adam and Eve, they just had tall genes. Recessive and dominant were just tall. And as they mixed themselves up, amalgamated with other of God's creation, I don't want to call it animals per se, but a little lower form, then you have a variety of offspring. Some going to be just looking like the whatever they made to do it. Some going to look like humans in total, in height, in health, longevity, and so on. All right. And so Adam and Eve lived probably up to 930. Methuselah lived to 952 or 950. The body was to live forever. But then at Noah's time, people were living up to 500. So they continued to mix themselves up with some animal or whatever that hadn't a long lifespan. So that you have ranges of lifespans. If, for example, a person that could live to 1,000 years hooks up with some being or some organism that could only live up to 100, then you have offspring that can live maximum 100, some going to go to 1,000, some go 500, vary in between there. And so by Noah's time, as I said, it was about 500. Today it's almost 70, 80, the average age person lives. So UFOs don't exist because they're showing these little humans or these little beings 2 feet tall, weird looking head, funny looks, and so on. I mean, that's just the figment of their imagination. That's what the devil is trying to show, that God is, to me, in a way, it's insulting to God. And that's the plan of the devil, to insult God with a variety of different stupidness he would come up with. And so, no, there are no UFOs. Because number one, they're not going to come here. They have their own little video system where they could see the mess we're in and this mire we live in and all this chaos that's going on here, all the killing and all the hunger and the pollution and all that. They know of everything. And if humans were so big, then why would the other planets be dwarfs and 2 feet tall or 3 feet tall and so on? So don't believe the UFO story. They don't exist. And lastly, when I was growing up in our country, we have something called Baku, and I guess up here you call them UFOs. They see some little green men. I've never seen one. What seemed to happen is that people, and I've had friends who said they saw them, and I hadn't the experience or the knowledge then. But if I had explored with those same people who see them, you'll find out that they're into voodoo. The parents may be into voodoo, because this guy in Puerto Rico, he's from one of the islands in the Caribbean, and he knows about the voodoo, and he knows about the obia. We call it obia back home, and he knows about the Baku, little green men. But what he said is that when the Baku working for you, they appear to you sometimes. So some people out there are asking the devil to give them things and to do things for them and so on, and things do happen for them, and then he appears to them sometimes. So unless you're into some evil something, the devil wouldn't materialize himself to you. So if you see UFOs, you better get down on your knees and ask God if you're on his side, or try to get back on God's side. Ask God to help you to get on his side, because you're on evil ground, and it's going to only lead to your destruction now and forever. So there are no UFOs.